So let me show you what it's like to open up a project, and let me show you what a project can look like, or at least the start of a project. I want to keep this simple and clean for you guys to understand. So I come up to File, and if I go to where it says Open Recent, you can see all my recent projects here, the ones that I've worked on in the past. And then this one right here is one I set up exclusively for today's lesson. If I go to Garnish Intro Session, I can just click on that. Okay. And then right now it'll say, do you want to save the changes, the current changes before closing? Because this is not a project, I actually don't have any reason to save this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just hit Don't Save. And then now you'll see a new project open up, and now just demonstrating what a project can look like. So what you're looking at up here, okay, this is actually what's called the track. Okay, so here's track number 1, track number 2, track number 3, and track number 4. Okay, and these 2 tracks are what's considered audio tracks, right, that have something called clips inside them. And these clips can actually play sound. So if I double click down here, you can actually see the waveform for that sound, and I can click on this clip, okay, which is just an audio loop, by the way. That's all that means. And then on this one, this is exclusively a MIDI clip, or MIDI track with a MIDI clip inside it, so it looks a little bit different. Okay, and then the same goes for this one as well. So these are, the top here is what you would call your tracks, and you can reorganize these by just clicking and dragging around. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to not really pay attention to what's happening in my browser area anymore, I can go ahead and collapse it like this if I want. And actually right up here, there's a little drop down toggle arrow. Would you click on that? And it can also make it disappear. So, you know, some things are customizable, some things are not. Okay, so, you know, it's really nice that you can just kind of stretch this out. And even this section here, you can kind of stretch out as well. So you can also just click on this and I can make that disappear. All right. But to be honest, I like to have them both open. So I'm going to leave that open. So as you look at these track title bars, again, these are what's called the clips. And underneath the clips, you will see an area that's pretty important. This area where it says audio from, extension in, monitoring, audio to. So basically, if we wanted to customize some of these settings, meaning if I wanted to record audio into other audio tracks, or if I wanted to hook up a microphone, maybe hook up a guitar, I could actually set the routing set to my sound interface, my audio interface, and do those types of recordings. And underneath here, this is where you'll find the track volume. Okay, so if I wanted to play this clip, let me just demonstrate what that looks like or what that sounds like. If I just go ahead and play this clip, and this is just an audio clip. Okay, I can stop it right here. Okay, and I can also use this fader. Okay, this is the volume fader, the amplitude fader. Fade it in and out. If I wanted to deactivate it, okay, this is what's called the track activator. And I can also solo it. Okay, so let's say I wanted to play this with this this hi-hat loop. I could activate it and then activate this loop. Okay, and so let's say I want to solo this hi-hat. Okay, and then maybe solo this one. Okay, so you can see here that with each track and each clip, I can turn them off individually. And this area here, you can actually add as many clips as your computer can handle. Actually, technically, well, it depends on what version of Ableton you're using, but I can have a lot of audio clips, and I can have a lot. I've never run out of audio clips, and I've never run out of MIDI clips. The limitations, there is a limitation, but you'll be surprised. There's a lot that you can add. And over here, okay, so looking at these tracks in this area, this is what we call, these two areas, we have what's called the sends, and then we have what's called the return. So I have a return reverb and a return delay. Next to that is the master, and underneath that we have what's called the scene. The scene is about, if I wanted to launch multiple clips at once, I could do that by launching this thing called the scene, and that's what these numbers represent here Currently, I have 8 scenes, and you could add more scenes as you keep progressing and adding more clips. So to demonstrate that, if I go ahead and just hit play here, all of these clips will play at once. Okay. So what you're looking at is all of these clips playing at once with their individual track volumes, and then over here is the master volume. All right. So let's say I want to get this to a comfortable level. I will take the track volume for each one of these and maybe turn them down like this. So I'm no longer clipping, going in the red. Okay. And again, if I wanted to solo maybe just one of these, this is an audio effect, or sorry, this is a MIDI effect. These are MIDI drums. This is a hi-hat loop. This is a karimba loop. Okay. And the cool thing is, if I wanted to maybe change the tempo up here in the master, where it says 93 beats per minute, I can click and drag it up, and click and drag it down. And if I want to stop all these clips at once, I come down to the session view, or sorry, the scene view, over here in the session view, in the right-hand side, and hit stop. Okay. So other things I want to point out to you is in this area here, what we have is called the info tab. I recommend that you have the info tab on, especially if you're just learning about Ableton, or maybe you've been using Ableton for a while and you want the actual definitions to these things. Almost think of it as like a kind of a hybrid version of the Ableton manual that will allow you to quickly understand what something is called, what does it mean. And right here, for example, this says send. So if I wanted to click and drag up and down to adjust the track's contribution to the corresponding return track's input, I can do that. So if I hit play on this, I can add maybe a little bit of reverb, which is currently going to the A send, or sorry, the A return track. You can also think of this as a bus. Some of you who might be familiar with what a bus is, okay, Ableton likes to call these sends and returns. So send the signal into the return track, which has a reverb on it, and that reverb outputting to the master. Okay, but something I want to point out is between the track, okay, and the clip, if I double click on the clip, you'll see that this new window pops up, and I can expand this. Okay, this is where we can edit the clip, we can expand it, we can look at the actual inside of getting under the hood of the actual clip itself. Okay, and this is where we can do things like transpose. So if I wanted to play the track and maybe, okay, do other things like adjust the warping capabilities and things like that, all of that information's here. If I wanted to maybe loop a segment, okay, things like that. And then over here, if I look at this one, it will automatically if I double click on this clip, it will bring me to this next clip. And if I click on this one, it will bring me to the MIDI instrument and the MIDI information. So you can see there's a big difference between what MIDI looks like and what audio looks like. Okay, so MIDI clips, hit play, so you hear both. All right, and something else I want to point out is that when you're looking at something like, say, this karimba loop, okay, you can also toggle between these two views, and this is what's called the clip waveform. That's what you're looking at here. And then right here, this is where you can actually add a device. So when they say add a device, what does that mean? Well, maybe, just maybe, I want to add a little bit of an effect. Maybe I want to not use a return track. Maybe I want to use something like a low pass filter. Okay, I can add a low pass filter to my karimba. Make it a little darker. Okay, and I can toggle back to the waveform. And that goes for both the MIDI instruments. So if I want to actually look at the device, I can click down here and I can see the device. This is the actual instrument itself, the drum rack instrument itself. And, or sorry, technically this is an instrument rack, but yeah, there's a drum rack inside that as well. So that's the basic understandings or the basic principles of this of the layout, the overview of Ableton. Now I know that you're probably wondering, like, wait a minute, I have a ton of questions, or maybe there's some things that I kind of skipped over. And again, that's because I only have an hour to really dive into this and to go over the basics of Ableton. But I hope this is enough to get you understanding the basics. You know, if you have any questions, you can always ask them on our page, on our YouTube page, and we'll answer them the best we can. And the point of this, once again, is just to give you an overview of what it's like to take a class here at Garnish. Now, if this were an actual class, like an actual class that we host on our online channel, it's definitely more interactive. It's not just asking questions. I try to make sure it's as hands-on as possible, meaning like if you need feedback on tracks, I'll give demonstrations, and then even sometimes help out with your projects by taking over your cursor and assisting you in those things. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this. One last thing I just wanted to turn your attention to: if you are interested in signing up or checking out more about Garnish Online in our school, you can head over to our website. Okay, that's not our website. Sorry, that's a YouTube page. Let me click on that. There we go. Here's our website. So it's edu.garnishmusicproduction.com, and you can check out all of our different satellite schools that you can see here. We're all around the world, okay? And then if you click here where it says live online courses, currently, as I'm recording this video, they are currently 33% off, which I think is really cool. A who's who of talent of music producers and songwriters from all around the world, sharing their knowledge, skills, and wisdom and experience with not just Ableton, but all different types of courses, from software, platform, DAWs, building this series called Build Beats Better, writing and recording, synthesis, sound design, techniques, workflow, mixing and mastering, and a whole lot more. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone.